What's up, Michael?
It's the time of the year.
Yeah, no. So tell us, Michael, why do atheists celebrate Christmas?
And get drunk. I don't drink, but that seems to be the good reason. I don't want presents now, but come on, it's a family. It's a family get together. It's a reason to get together. It's fabulous. I love it, and I even enjoy the old. I enjoy the old hymns because they're nostalgic, and I'm a nostalgic person. So it takes me. My parents are gone, my family's splintered, and it's that time that you can go back and you can remember all those great things of childhood. And for me, that's what it is. And thank Darwin that we never had. I never heard about the Jesus thing. Never went to church and all. So I'm spared that at the very least.
Consider yourself lucky, yeah.
Yeah, really lucky. And I don't connect any of the religious sensibility to it. It's just Santa comes down the chimney and their presents, and everybody laughs and gets pissed and has a great time. So yeah, I've got great memories and nostalgia to it.
I don't know, there's this strange phenomenon that happens with the Christians. They turn into, we all remember from childhood, there was this one kid that did not like the other children to play with their toys. They always, when somebody would touch their toys, they would throw a fit, and the Christians especially remind me of that child. It's like, because every single year, without fail, you can literally set your calendar to it. It happens on a good year, it happens about a week into December, but on a bad year, it happens a week before the beginning of December, where this sea of resentment towards atheists and how we defile the purity of their holiday. And I find it very ironic, because on closer inspection, for me, it was, I'm such a cliche, it's, I saw this, there's this movie that was quite popular a while ago called Zeitgeist, where it had this segment in it where it just goes through how this myth repeats itself throughout history, and, when you look at it from an objective, when you take a step back from the actual situation, you can see the similar trends in all the different, gods and traditions and deities that were worshipped throughout history. And
I think the word you're looking for is plagiarism.
That's the thing, that's what I'm saying is what's that saying? To the victor goes the spoils.
Yeah.
And this is what happened, when the Christians moved in, they saw, hey, wait a minute, these guys have got a festival. This is a bit too heresy. This is a heresy. It's a bit too close to home. So let's chop and change a couple of things in here. And this reformulation of the whole thing is where I think this whole myth and everything came to being. So I did a bit of, just a bit of casual research and looking into the actual evolution of Christmas, and I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs here. How let me just hide that. How this whole Christmas thing, it has a spiritual pagan origin almost, because in the northern hemisphere, this is more or less the dead of winter, so. It's a time when the season changes over and it starts, going into the spring area. So,
and of course, they would have seen the sun marching steadily from their perspective. The sun would have gone more and more to the south, and at some point it would have begun its march back north. And then everybody wanted to celebrate because we know the warmth is coming, the regrowth is coming. It stands to bloody reason.
Right. So,
I sound sick.
Sorry?
No, you've got a cough. I got a cough.
The funny thing is, there's the virus that shall not be named has actually struck down a couple of people in our office, so there has been a bit of a scare there, but thankfully everybody's been vaccinated, so everybody's fine, Thanks, science. Yeah. Any case, let's dive into that. This is an article from, I was also very careful to select where I got my sources from, so I went for reputable educational institutions, not that the the opinions and the blogs on here are necessarily academic, but I didn't just go to like ihatereligion.com, to find my information from, so it goes into here where it describes how the origins of Christmas actually is, it goes way back to pagan roots. So I'm just going to read 2 or 3 paragraphs here, and it says here, the Romans also shared their own special version of Yule called Saturnalia, in which they had used feasts 1 week before winter solstice began to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture. And along with honoring Saturn, the birth of the sun god Mithra was observed on 25th of December. It was not until the 1st century AD that these pagan observances were challenged. As Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, the pagan observances were adopted, reformatted, and given new meaning to coincide with new beliefs. Christians brought evergreens into their houses, as did the Norse centuries earlier. They decorated the trees with red and gold apples to symbolize the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. Today, those apples are now red and gold ball ornaments because it was not biblically clear when exactly Christ was born. Christians also adopted the birth date of Mithra to recognize their own god. 3 centuries later, December 25th was legally proclaimed as the feast day of the Nativity. Santa Claus, believe it or not, actually has historic Christian roots. The real Santa Claus is Saint and Bishop Nicholas of Turkey, who died in the same year that Christmas was made legal. The anniversary of his death, December 6th, is recognized as St. Nicholas's Day. And on that day each year, children who displayed good behavior was rewarded with toys, while those deemed as naughty received nothing. So in Holland, St. Nicholas translates to Sinterklaas, pronounced Sinterklaas, a name the Dutch brought with them when they came to America. So there seems to be this common trend where, as Christianity spread through the world, it saw these traditions and religions and cultures. And it's not necessarily a process, they didn't spread like the Muslims came in and they just demolished and replaced, where the Christians more or less, they took a process of osmosis, where they incorporated the organism into their own.
It's a rebranding exercise, under new management.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Something of note here as well that I just saw.
But sorry, while you look for that, I mean, they did the same thing with Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween was just the celebration of the harvest. If you look at when it occurs in the year, it's the celebration of the harvest, and they actually replaced it, but they moved the date of Halloween, and now they've got what do they call it? Thanksgiving. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same celebration. Yeah, I suppose. They just feel challenged or something. I don't know what it is. It's very strange. Very strange.
Yeah. And again, I mean, the thing is, I do research professionally. So always what I do is I look for at least 3 separate sources from 3 different individual institutions that have a similar narrative or the same narrative before I will draw my conclusion that, okay, look here, there is something in here. And again, here's the same kind of confirmation of that story, where it goes, Santa Claus, far from being a creature of ancient Dutch folklore who made his way to the New World with the company of immigrants from Holland, was essentially devised by a group of non-Dutch New Yorkers in the early 19th century. Now, this particular article goes into how the whole history of Christmas has been commercialized, because Christmas is big business, religion is big business. So, and we know our capitalist friends in the northwestern quadrant of the globe. Far be it for them to pass over an opportunity to milk some kind of sentiment for cash.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, it says initially the holiday was systematically suppressed by Puritans during the colonial period and largely ignored by their descendants. It was actually illegal to celebrate Christmas in Massachusetts between 1659 and 1681. The fine was 5 shillings. And only in the middle of the 19th century just did Christmas gain legal recognition as an official public holiday in New England.
Dean, I understand it. I know. I think the red and the white and the whole sort of that jolly man has got to do with Coca-Cola, the commercialization of Christmas. Perhaps it's coming later, but I believe there was something to do with that too.
Yeah. I don't recall reading anything about that, but I've heard that that particular story that you mentioned now. So it also says here that there, the funny thing is there's no biblical or historical record or reason to place the birth of Jesus on December the 25th. It's true that the Gospel of Luke tells the familiar story of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, how the shepherds were living with their flocks in the fields of Judea, and how one night an angel appeared to them and said, For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which, I'm telling you, even reading this leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, which is Christ the Lord. But nowhere in this account is there any indication of the exact date or even the general season on which this date fell. It was only in the 4th century.
I think fictitious characters are like that. It's hard to figure out when Mickey Mouse was born too.
It was only in the 4th century that the church officially decided to observe Christmas on December the 25th. And this date was chosen not for religious reasons, but simply because it happened to mark the approximate arrival of the winter solstice, an event that was celebrated long before the advent of Christianity. The Puritans were correct when they pointed out, and they pointed it out often, that Christmas has nothing but a pagan festival covered with a Christian veneer. Yeah. Most cultures outside the tropics, just goes on about that. I actually wanted to get to this. So in Europe, it was a little bit different. In early modern Europe, roughly the years between 1500 and 1800, the Christmas season was a time to let off steam and to gorge. It is difficult today to understand what this seasonal feasting was like. For most of the readers of this book, good food is available in sufficient quantity all year around. But early modern Europe was above all a world of scarcity. Few people ate much good food at all, and for everyone, the availability of fresh food was seasonally determined. Late summer and early fall would have been the time of fresh vegetables, but December was the season, the only season for fresh meat. Animals could not be slaughtered until the weather was cold enough to ensure that the meat would not go bad, and any meat saved for the rest of the year would have to be preserved and thus rendered less palatable by salting. December was also the month when the year's supply of beer and wine was ready to drink. And for farmers too, this period marked the start of a season of leisure. Little wonder then that this was a time of celebratory excess. Reveling could
obvious, it's brilliant.
But it's true, it makes sense. This makes much more sense to me than than 3 wise men seeing a star and finding a baby.
You know that there's a Bethlehem here in the Free State. You know that, and apparently the reason the 3 wise men didn't go to that Bethlehem is because they couldn't find 3 wise men or a virgin. I don't know if that's true, but Sorry, for Bethlehem, no insult intended.
And not a virgin in sight.
You know, I once was a virgin. It was terrible. I'm really glad it's over with.
Be one.
Yeah, I'm glad I got it over with. It was awful. I don't wish it on anyone.
He says, yeah, the reveling would become rowdiness, lubricated by alcohol. Making merry could edge into making trouble. Christmas was a season of misrule, a time when ordinarily behavioral restraints would be violated with impunity. It was part of what the historian has called the world of carnival. The term carnival is rooted in Latin words carne and valle, farewell to flesh. And flesh refers here not only to meat, but also to sex, carnal as well as carnivorous. Christmas misrule meant that not only hunger, but also anger and lust could be expressed in public. And again, they sanitized all that fun.
Yes. No, I mean, this war on Christmas business, it's all wrong. We should be fighting for this sort of thing.
Exactly. I was reading this and I was going to myself, hey, wait a minute. You guys used to have feasts and orgies. Oh, that's crazy.
Really downgraded.
Yeah. But it's fascinating, it's fascinating. Yeah. You can go onto Facebook at any time and just, this time of year especially, I love all the Christians come out all pure and pious, and it's the season, the season to celebrate the birth of the dear, a gentle Jesus, meek and mild, and I never get how people, I mean, just researching this for a week and discovering, 3 or 4 corroborating articles on it. It's like just the skeptic hairs on the back of my neck are like standing up and tingling. I'm saying to myself, like, how can you buy this hook, line, and sinker when, the academics on this are finding this kind of information and documenting it? There has to be something deeper, in terms of a cultural milieu that, that lead people to follow these traditions. And we are a species that have these, this tendency to, have cultural traditions, follow cultural patterns and all of that. It's so hardwired into us, that it's not surprising to me that something like this, has followed us through the ages.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, eventually, I presume we're going to get to the point where we have to talk about we're having this Christ birthday, Christmas, but I mean, the guy, I can't find any evidence that he existed. So we're having a yeah. I mean, we're going to get there, I'm sure, in this discussion.
Do I sense a mythicist in the room?
You'll kill my myth in 1 second flat if you give me a little piece of evidence. Wide open to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also fascinated by this whole mythicist idea. I mean, Carrier is a big proponent of that, and it's gaining a lot of steam online. Where I'm just not ready to I'm of the opinion that even if there was a Jewish Messiah like 2,000 years ago, all your work is, even if he's historically recorded, all your work is still ahead of you. Yeah. Even if I grant you that, yes, there was a person, who was, a traveling preacher and he riled up his people, all your work is still ahead of you.
But have you seen Aaron Ra's one on Who Was Jesus? Have you seen his video? Who Was Jesus?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh no, yeah. So that's you got to see that. I'll send it to you when we're done here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I mean, he just, as he always does, he lays things out so well.
Yeah. No, he's a great communicator.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Jesus was real until I really started to think about it, and the plagiarism that we opened this entire discussion with, the story of Jesus is just so obviously plagiarized. It's unavoidable. I don't know how I could not think it's a myth. I just don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, let me just, this one was really interesting to me when it talks about the evolution of Christmas from spiritual pagan origins to the most successful creator of American debt.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was, this quotes a couple of studies done by the History Channel, and how they just looked into, the origins of it. And again, it's the same kind of trend where it says, as it began to spread through the Roman Empire, the pagan observances were adopted, reformatted, and given new meaning to coincide with new beliefs. Again, the same history of Santa Claus, the American Santa Claus, who came 1,500 years later. And then here it quotes the person saying, Cohen wrote, Christmas gained popularity when it was transformed into a domestic celebration. The new emphasis introduced other concern, commercialism. By the 1920s, the retail industry had adopted Christmas as its own, sponsoring annual ceremonies to kick off the Christmas shopping season. From spiritual pagan origins to the most successful creator of American debt, the commercialization of Christmas became a booming success by the retail world and still proves to be a profitable business today. Last November, financial journalist for moneysupermarket.com, Jessica Brown, predicted that 3.8 million people would go into debt because of Christmas. At the beginning of this year, 47% of adults in America found themselves owing money thanks to the holiday. Yeah. No,
but I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. People will put themselves into debt for celebration, for weddings, for all kinds of celebrations, and if they've managed to commercialize it, they've commercialized Valentine's Day, they commercialize every bloody thing. Easter, it's fine. If people want to put themselves into debt for these celebrations, they get something out of it. That's great. I have no problem that they go to midnight mass. I have no problem that they. I go to religious Christmases where everybody's going to hold hands and pray. I'll hold hands and I'll look around the room to see if anybody else is looking around the room. I mean, and I won't piss on anybody's parade. I won't bring any of this up. We will exchange presents and stuff. But they get real twitchy about it that you've got to participate in this idea with them. And I don't want to rock anybody's boat. I just smile and I say, yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to. This is not the hill I'm going to die on.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just in poor taste if you go to a Christmas dinner and you shit all over Christmas,
Well, I'm having Christmas I'm having family Christmas this year, and there are going to be 3 or 4 new little kids in our family. And I don't know. I mean, my family is not at all religious, but they may. I don't personally wouldn't do it. They may inject a little something there. Santa Claus for sure. I don't think Jesus' name will ever be really brought up or mentioned in a big way. And I'll just go along with it because it doesn't hurt. And by the time the kids are 5 or 6. Whatever very light, not even indoctrination has happened in my family will occur. They will learn it's all nonsense, and then we'll start to have sort of adult Christmases again. And then, but it was quite interesting in America. There is Hanukkah became a very big deal. It was sort of a counter. It was like a counter culture or counter. What would you call it? Counter move to Christmas. Yeah. I don't know really.
Sorry, just for some background info, Hanukkah is the Jewish version of Christmas, right?
Okay, yes. And then that also became, and then Americans stopped saying Merry Christmas or whatever. They would have to say Happy Holidays with a big full smile. And I just refuse to do that because as an atheist, I still say Merry Christmas because I'm not Jewish. I'm culturally Christian, and I'm but I'll just say Merry Christmas, because that's how I was brought up. And you can respond to me Happy Hanukkah, and I will say and Merry Christmas to you, because we're not dueling. These are how we express our appreciation of fellowship and food and all those good things.
And if you really want to piss these religious types off, like when they say Merry Christmas to you, you say, and season's greetings to you.
I like that. I do that. I don't know. I've never stopped to think about it, but I don't know if it's the majority, if it's 50-50 of my friends are Jewish. But Jews are a little more mature with this stuff. They're sort of culturally Jewish. I don't think they actually think anybody's watching them, or they have the Friday evening, these traditions, and they're beautiful traditions. And from time to time, I get invited to them too, and I put a lappy in my head, and we have great food and laughs. And what else is there in life? That's just super.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I also don't like these holidays also just turn me cold, honestly. Yeah. So like just in closing, I really love to to point out these things to Christians, especially if they this is the thing that gave me the the momentum to actually like dive deep into the history of it. Like I saw this Zeitgeist movie a couple of years ago already, and it was just something notable, like as you sit there and documentaries drone on, you generally zone out, but something like this, like it logged in my atheist logbook, and I knew this is going to come up sometime again, and I thought this year, I don't know if it's because they all like, frustrated from being locked up in their houses or whatever, but they seem to be especially vitriolic this year.
Oh, really? I haven't been online.
The ones that I've encountered, at least.
I must go kick some beehives, I think.
I think they've got cabin fever,
You know what I love to do? I don't know if you've ever seen NORAD. NORAD is the North. What is NORAD? What does it stand for?
It's some defense thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And every year NORAD puts out they track Santa. Oh, because I think they're in charge of flying. And I love watching Santa do his deliveries. Every single year I pull up NORAD, and from time to time during Christmas celebrations I show people where Santa is, and I get quite excited when he's coming to Cape Town. Because
exactly. But I mean, this is something else. I mean, like, Santa Claus, that's which, I mean, if you had somebody flying through the air on a magical sleigh pulled by reindeer, that's witchcraft. Here in Africa we're going to go Utkriga, and we're going to
but it's a beautiful thing. And what I really like, and I think the subtext to the reason I'm doing this and I'm stirring with NORAD all the time, if I stop and think about it, why? There are 8 billion people on the planet, and each one needs to get a present from Santa. And when you start to break down in 24 hours how many presents you've got to deliver per second, that's a shit truckload full of presents that he's going to deliver. But the beautiful thing, the subtext to that is that the Christians will rightly laugh at that. I mean, that is just a silly story. But you whisper and God hears every prayer. 8 million of you all at once. Okay, so why are we laughing at Santa delivering presents at this rate? And I think that's why I do it. But it's wonderful. That's just part of my tradition every year. I tell the same dad jokes every year at the table, and which I passed from my dad, and I have a good. We eat and drink and have fun. It's great. I love Christmas. I absolutely adore Christmas. And I love the people, the Jesus freaks to enjoy it for what they get out of it. Because why not?
Exactly. So you see, we are the children that are okay with other people playing with our toys. Yes. You can play with my toy. It's fine. I don't mind.
These particular toys involve food and laughter. And so I'm there. But I'm not going to midnight mass. Firstly, it's midnight. I'd rather do other things at midnight. Play with my toys.
Secondly, Michael, if you step into a church, you would burst into you would spontaneously combust.
I would. I really
There's
would.
no way that you set foot into a church and you walk out there not being a cinder block.
But I really enjoy. I mean, I enjoy. You know, I'm the kind of guy that the what do they call them that come to your door? Jehovah's Witnesses. I say I can't be a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't see the accident, but they come to my door, and I bring them in. I like rub my hands and I say, I've been waiting for you guys, and that makes them nervous to start with. And then I settle. Now I've done this before, and I settle them in, and then we begin to talk, and they're like throwing a cat in a swimming pool.
I don't even know if the Jehovah's Witnesses celebrate Christmas. You know, like they.
Oh yeah, no, they don't. They're too miserable for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like they are really. They're so tight, you know. They could turn a lump of coal into a diamond in like 5 seconds. They're so tight.
but life has got lots of natural agonies and tragedies and everything that will come at you. I don't know why you have to impose this shit on yourself. Yeah. I just don't get it. I'm all in for the happy part, but when we start to get inveigled in that, and it's just too terrible. And as I say, if you want to go and stimulate the economy by buying too many presents, it's foolish. You probably shouldn't, but do it. That's fine. That's the what I mean. I'm into economics. It's the velocity of money. You're helping the economy out. It's great. And if you get yourself into debt, well, you're going to have to figure this out. That's fine. I don't mind that.
Like everything, you know, it needs to be done in moderation. You know, like if you're the kind of person that'll put yourself into debt to, you know, to satisfy your need to fit into society and to be just like the Joneses next door, you know, then that's on you. You know, that's that's just a sign of bad money management.
I got married, and we had 40 people over, and I don't think you've had a cheaper wedding ever. Where we had people said that was the best wedding ever. We catered it ourselves. We did it in our house. We weren't having any religious hucksters nearby, and it was fantastic. And I just won't put myself into debt for that sort of nonsense. You can come over to my house and have a great meal, but I'm not putting myself in debt for anything for any nonsense.
Yeah. But I think, you know, like that commercial aspect of it is especially relegated to our North American friends. You know, like they just go completely apeshit when the season hits.
Yeah. Well, America is just. When I lived there for 8 years, I was shocked and possibly horrified at the amount of religiosity there. I'd never encountered. You know, I'm a Cape Town boy, and my little corner of the globe is a bubble. And people, I know their churches. I've seen people going in and out of them. I never really took it. I never thought they took it seriously. In America, it's like serious. They take their religion as seriously as we take our politics. And their religion and politics is indivisible, actually.
Yeah. No, it's great. You know, like I don't know. You know, like just the smell of Christmas in the air is like catnip for Christians. You know, it's just they go completely crazy. Yeah.
And they invited. I mean, I went into their homes, and they were very hospitable. I'm thinking of a particularly religious family. They were genuinely good people, and I honor that. And I went there. We went there they weren't big into presents. We take small presents, and we'd have a hell of a celebration. And I'm very grateful for that experience. And as I say, they pray. I hold hands. It's fine. There's no offense on my part, and not offensive.
Exactly. I mean, like speaking from my own perspective as well. You know, like my mother passed away. You know, like many years ago, you know, and she was also very big on this whole Christmas thing, you know, but it had far less of a religious connotation than it did that whole familial gathering, and people got together, and it's like this massive group of people, and like families are they're beautiful, they're ugly, they are wholesome, and they are also full of strife. You know, like there's so many different elements to it, and that's what I remember of this whole Christmas feeling. You know, like when I think back on my past, it's just that sense of community and familial unity that we had. You know, and it's strange now that I'm, you know, way into my adulthood. It's you know, I don't associate Christmas with anything religious. You know, like if anything, it is more a get together of family. You know, like a celebration of acquaintances, of getting together. You know, and it has absolutely zero religious connections for me.
Sure,
you know,
but there's definitely there's a different crowd. Okay, because I mean, a week away from Christmas and we get to New Year, a completely different vibe, a completely different type of, you know, you have your friends round. Christmas for me, I remember being I suppose I was late teens, and I'll never forget. I could take you to the spot. It was opposite La Perla in Sea Point, and I saw there were people on Christmas Day streaming into La Perla to go and have Christmas lunch, and I felt so sorry for them because they were going to a restaurant, and I was going home to have a family thing, and then I became that person. For you know, my parents died, my sister moved to New Zealand, and so I became sort of, I felt a little bit of an outcast, and there were only friends left, and we went to a restaurant, and I felt it just didn't click. And now we're back to the families getting bigger once again. All the new kiddies have come along. All the kids have married and their grandchildren in the family. And we're getting this great family vibe going again. And then New Year's, the family go their separate ways, and we have the friends deal. So I love Christmas for that reason. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, you know, it's... I don't know, you know, like it's not that I dread Christmas, you know, it's just like it's become so repetitive, you know, like over the past, you know, a decade and a half or so of being an atheist, you know, like it's the same, you know, it's like, you know, you type to the end of a line and then you push the typewriter back to the beginning, and then they type again to the end of the line and they push it. So it's this repetitive cycle, and I'm getting very annoyed at it, you know, so. You know, you'll never shake the Christmas out of the Christian. Let's just put it that way.
I think I'm
never be able to.
I'm just so lucky that I don't have a religious connotation to it at all. I mean, I know theoretically there's this religious connotation which I don't buy anyway, but it's not an emotional issue for me at all. It's a family deal, and it was a family deal. It became this restaurant thing for a few years when I hit my middle years, and now we're back to family, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, you know, I so hope that this whole virus that shall not be named thing can pass, you know, it's just so that we can get together again. And, you know, like we had such a good, we built up a little bit of momentum with our meetups and everything, you know, so I am, you know, that's my wish for our consulate for this coming year. It's just that, you know, we can finally hit the windshield wipers to wipe the virus that shall not be named from the windshield, so we can just see out ahead, you know, and have life return back to normal.
I think it looks like we're going to go through another spike now of it. It seems like we're heading up into it, and maybe in later January we'll be through it, and we can do that again. We can do one of those. I mean, outdoors we go to the gardens like we did before.
Yeah. You know, and if that, you know, even if that doesn't happen, you know, like we have got to get some form of virtual communication. You know, like I need atheist interaction and communication with atheists. You know, like I'm just I'm a social creature. You know, so I need that kind of interaction. You know, it's you know, like religion is not that big a deal in my day-to-day life. You know, none of my colleagues or people where I live are hyper or super religious where it's in your face the whole time, you know, but I miss that sense of community, you know, and we had it going, it just got off the ground, and then, you know, this shut everything down.
Speaking of which, I mean, I would really love if we could if we could try, and because we're all really science based, I think that's how we all got to our religion, our lack of religiosity through science. I'd love to have sort of science talks if we could find, particularly if they're renowned scientists coming to town, and we could have a talk. But
this is the thing: is we just need to actually, recruit and solicit people that we want to interact with. That's the. It's a very simple thing to put together. You just need to identify somebody that's willing. That's the difficult part.
Yeah. So we need to. What I'm really talking about is sort of the same way the churches do things, and they.
Yeah.
I think we need that. I think it's a big.
It's interesting. Idea. I can look into it. I was. I don't know if you remember Ben from the local street epistemology guy that I am.
Oh yes.
Did a previous interview with. I was thinking of getting a just a little workshop together to do some kind of street epistemology education or something like that. But I mean, I still have to finalize and confirm the details with them. And then I was also talking to the guys at the Atheist Network group Tang. They also run a YouTube channel that's Austin. He also wants to get something going with Ben. So I don't know, we'll iron out all those details at some stage.
Because I love chatting to chatting to people and to be challenged. I want to be challenged. I want people. I'd sit behind a desk and have people come up and talk to me all day long. I'd love it.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's leave it there, Michael. What I I just want to put this out to the members as well. If there's anybody that's feeling especially cocooned or isolated this season, reach out. There's a whole community of us online. We are there, and being bombarded with Jesus's birth. Go Jesus, it's a birthday. Like 24/7. Like some people go into like really dark spaces of depression and all of that. Like reach out to your community online. We are here. We feel exactly the same way you do about all this nonsense. So reach out. And what's that army song? Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Any guys. So let's leave it there. I'm gonna end this the stream here. I just want to play that clip from Zeitgeist, but I don't I don't necessarily want to post it to YouTube because it might get a copyright strike. So I'm just gonna end it here, and then I'm gonna play that clip for you, and then afterwards we're gonna end the stream. Thanks for joining, Michael.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
What's that?
Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, which, in turn, 3 kings followed to locate and adorn the newborn Savior. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure. Attis of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected. Krishna of India, born of the Virgin Devaki, with a star in the east signaling his coming. He performed miracles with his disciples, and, upon his death, was resurrected. Dionysius of Greece, born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And, upon his death, he was resurrected. Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th, he had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected. He was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many others. Interestingly, the sacred day of worship of Mithra was Sunday. The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics.